Deal goes south. Do you get discouraged and say, why am I here?
No, I mean, I think a successful person is a person who's just failed more than the average person, but continues to figure a way on how to overcome
So you keep getting
adversity.
up.
100%. When you speak about that deal, I come from a world where I was flipping single families, duplexes, triplexes. So I tell people I really played Monopoly in real life and traded in my houses for a hotel at one point. So if you can imagine, I'm buying $50,000, $80,000, $150,000, foreclosures in Philadelphia, right? So I'm amassing what I had in the way of equity lines of credits, and that's what I'm using to invest in a hotel. So this is my second deal. Almost all of my cash was in this deal. So, and I've been working for 10 years just to accumulate this cash, and that deal died in that hotel room. But it died.
Yeah.
Like who I thought I had equity just said, I'm out. And my money's about to go non-refundable. And I'm like, what am I gonna do? My reputation is out here, or all that I've worked for could just be lost. So if that don't motivate you, I don't know what will. But no, it was just, I mean, I had to get into a different zone. And we all, I mean, the margin of success is a lot of times like this small. Like a lot of us, I look at Kevin, I look at people around the room. I mean, there's like small things that could have took us left, that took us right, And if you're a person of faith, and you continue to just believe and you just have that confidence, right? Then you get to a point where it doesn't matter what gets thrown at you. You just have an expectation that I'm going to figure this out, and you just fight through it until you figure it out. So.
But Evans, I think you get up, good role models, you create great relationships, but is there anything that you see, and I remember one time early in your career, Jerry Butler and I flew into DC, and you picked us up in a Maserati with 2 seats, and we couldn't fit in. And I said, get rid of this car, get a bigger car. Remember that?
Oh, I do.
So 3 guys in DC, in a Maserati, that small one, and the big one.
It has seats in the back, it was just small.
That's small. And Evans' capacity to change direction, you played safety. So when the guy goes left, you follow that. That's probably why you changed so quickly. To think about it, to adapt. So when that deal almost died, you just didn't give up, you adapted. Is it important to be adaptive in this business? And do you think that's one of the reasons with success? Because Julian, for example, was working in his hotel for a couple of years, and both him and his wife never gave up. So that same sort of tenacity is the stuff that, South Boston, when he told me he's building a hotel in South Boston, I thought of Boston, he said Virginia. Why would somebody go to South Boston and do a hotel? But he never gave up tenacity, changed directions. What do you think contributes to that?
Motivation.
To do better than the generation before?
Yeah.
And were you always ambitious?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I was the smartest kid in the class but I do have a drive. And that's the one thing I thank, God for. I do have ambition, right? And just the quick 30-second story, when I was refinancing that deal in Atlanta, I was faced with a sunset of my debt was going to become due, and my interest rate was going to jump to 12%, and I was going to have a $500,000 penalty. And at the time, I was trying to get a new brand in there, and it was after the great financial crisis, and no one was lending on hotels. When I tell you this number, I think at least 30 lenders said no to me to this deal. I think that was around the number. And once again, I'm about to lose my reputation, all the money that I've had, and everything.
Was your reputation important?
Oh, it's everything. It's everything. And then I'm about to be just done. And at least in this hotel, maybe I'm gonna go to multifamily. Maybe I'm gonna figure something else. I don't know. Maybe I'll be back in hotels. I don't know. But and I see him standing in the back. But it was Aries Capital and Neil Freeman and at the time somebody that was working for him. They found some credit union in Atlanta that said yes. Not only did they say yes to refinancing my debt, they said yes to giving me the money to buy out a bad partner and giving me the money to renovate the small renovations that I had to do for the new brand. It was just and it was at like a great interest rate. I was in disbelief because everybody in the market said no to me, and just this one, we just wouldn't stop. And we got that deal done. And to this day, I think we hit like a 44 IRR. We hit like a 3.5x multiple on that deal. Yeah, no doubt, no doubt, no doubt. And I still think it was the best deal that I've ever done. So I just want to shout out Neil Freeman in the back. So appreciate you, Neil. No doubt. No doubt.
So Neil has been a long-term partner of NABHOOD and a very damn personal friend. Only problem I have with Neil, he lives in a great place called Anguilla, and every time I go to his house, his wife and him keeps mixing more drinks, and I always miss my flight. But lovely wife Wendy, and I promised Neil I'll be back this year. We should go to Anguilla and have fun with Neil.
Oh yeah.
So those sort of relationships is similar to what I have with guys like Mitch Miller, and except when Mitch Miller puts his attorney hat on, and I don't want to call the brand. I just want to look around and see if they're here. But Mitch and I on the phone with the brand and with an owner trying to do a deal, and I'm sitting there on the other side. Mitch is in LA, I'm in Florida, and I said, can I just punch Mitch? And said, Mitch, shut up, you're the attorney. Let's figure out how to get this deal done. But just like Neil, just like Mitch, just like Urban Matthews, who you'll hear from later on. I think Urban is on the panel tomorrow, I believe with you, Mitch. Car dealership, Lexus or some car dealership, but he wanted a hotel. And that brand called us and made some concessions and they gave us some great concessions, as you said. Mitch said to me, we got almost everything what we wanted. And I said, well, great, let's do the deal. Well, let's get some more. That's his attorney hat. Those relations, those success stories. Now, you remember all that problem you had with that hotel in Atlanta? Tell us what happened when you sold it. Oh, he laughed.
I was in disbelief because I'm new to this, like I'm like a baby in the industry, and I didn't even put it on the market. Like I just had a broker just say, hey, I have somebody want to buy this hotel from me. I'm like, oh yeah, well, what are they offering? And it was a number much higher than my basis. I was like, whoa, okay. And then I said, well, let me not jump on this offer. Let me see who, let's go put it out there. And it wasn't, we didn't sell it to like another person like me. It was an institutional, like big private equity REIT that wants my little old property that I just built. And but what I learned a couple things from that, and that became my strategy. I learned the power of a premium brand because I went from one brand to another, and I didn't necessarily change the product. So you were walking into the same guest room, the same lobby, but my occupancy and ADR shot up significantly because I had a different brand. And then I learned that investing in investment grade properties, in secondary, urban, the right brands, where your buyer is going to be an institutional buyer with lower cost of capital, you're going to increase your margin for what you can sell it for. Because I wouldn't have paid the number that they paid. And it was still a good number to them. And in hindsight, it was just my basis was so low. I mean, I bought it for 25 cents on the dollar right after the great financial crisis or so. So I got it out of foreclosure or so. So yes. Starwood Capital, Barry Stearns, his group, they bought it from me. And they paid me a nice penny.
Yeah, that's kind of they could afford the Four Seasons that they always built.
Yeah.
What's that hotel you like in South Beach? Is it one or Edition.
I like the Edition, the
Edition.
Faena. I like a few of them.
Huh. Taste has changed over the course of the last couple of years. Oh, one joke. Evans and I went to the Four Seasons, no, the Waldorf. And we wanted to try, the guy said he had some, and by the way, remember Kevin trumped us. So the guy said, Evans is, first of all, Evans used to drink, what's that wine? Boone's Farm. Now he doesn't drink that anymore. He drinks high quality vodka. Not vodka, scotch now. And now I got him drinking wine. I think we went someplace we were drinking wine the other day. So we went to the Waldorf, and the guy said, I want you to try this scotch. Was it scotch or something like that? It's $700 a shot. I know, that's what we said. And the guy said, well, why don't you try this? And we did. He put the glass down and he knocks it over and spills it. I'm like, wow. And I imagine if we were in college, we were going to get that vodka off the table. That scotch off the table. But and the beauty was, at that time, it was a Black-owned hotel, and we were so immensely proud. But Evans, you just built, you just bought another hotel, and you're creating a vision. And I told somebody the other day, you and I were sitting at the rooftop bar that you own, looking out over the DC skyline. How do you feel living in DC? Really, this is your first hotel in DC, that one on the outskirts. How do you feel sitting at that rooftop bar, which, by the way, is your character and image, looking out over the city, that as a young kid, did you dream about having a rooftop bar in DC?
Not at all. Not at all. And I grew up like maybe 10 blocks from where this hotel is.
Wow.
And if you think about it, like a top 10 market, you know, Boston, New York, DC, maybe San Francisco, Chicago, whatever. But there's only a few submarkets where you can even put a hotel, right? So it's not like multifamily, you could be all over the place, right? And then when you have those few opportunities, most of it is institutional capital. So you're competing against private equity, REITs. That's who own these hotels in Miami. So it's very few like individuals or regional. So I've been trying to get in DC for 10 plus years. And it was crazy, like how it was a relationship. And I got to tell you the story because it was a relationship on how I got this deal. I was just calling a broker just to catch up with him. And he said, hey, we had this property downtown DC that we put on the market. We didn't get the number. And now the owner only wants us to quietly market it to about 3 or 4 groups. So it wasn't even out there anymore. So then I said, well, can you include me? Right? So then he included me, and we figured out a way to make it work, to make it pencil. But now when you're buying hotels and you're buying something at that scale, sellers do not want to tie their deal up with someone who they don't think can execute, because it hurts them, right? Because if I tie it up and I take it off the market, then I have to put it back on the market is going to think something's wrong, and they're probably going to get a lower price. So they got to be really careful about who they sign an LOI with. So that broker put his reputation on the line and vouched for us. And I didn't have the money at the time. Okay? I didn't have it, but I told him I was going to find it. And
go get that ball.
And but there's ways I'm not going to tell you all that. Okay. So he had to literally get them comfortable, because we're not a New York-based PE shop. You know, we don't have urban properties all over the country. You know, there's groups that we're competing with that have 50, 60 hotels. So because of that relationship, because I've closed with him in the past, because he knows that we will figure out a way to get it done, he made that pitch and vouched for us. And then he got us in the driver's seat to actually acquire that hotel. And then we did what we had to do, and then we got it done.
I'll tell you the truth, he wasn't quite honest when he told you that. He wanted a rooftop bar. And about 10 years ago, he took me to the W. Remember the rooftop bar at the W? And we used to go there all the time whenever I went to DC. And so Evans now have this rooftop bar. And I met him there. We were at a meeting in DC a couple of weeks ago. And we were sitting there. And the people that were sitting in the bar, most of them didn't even have a clue that the owner was sitting next in a booth drinking wine, not that $700, $700 scotch. But you can see the sort of pride and how proud he was, and they were doing well. But let me tell you what I was so proud about, that he realized his dream. His general manager is an African-American. His management company is an African-American-run management company. And then recently, we just hooked him up with Ron Cole. Is Ron Cole still in the room? Ron Cole from Pronghorn. I called Ron and I said, hey, Ron, I've got a friend of mine and a member of NABHOOD that has a bar, a restaurant, a hotel. Let's connect you so you can get some of your brands. And then also shout out to Kevin. We introduced Pronghorn to Kevin, who was our sponsor last night. But Kevin did something interesting. During the month of February, Black History Month, Kevin carried African-American liquor brands. And I say that to say, thank you very much for that, Kevin. We all have a responsibility, and we can do well and good at the same time. And that same beacon that we saw, people that look like us, we now have that responsibility. But Evans, things are changing.
I'm talking about the rooftop, because I didn't say anything about it.
I want to talk about the Rom.
Go ahead.
But Rom is great, but I think you tell a better story, because to watch you and then overlook the city and that's a re-gentrified neighborhood, right? Come to think about it, tell me a little bit about it then.
Sure. So our strategy is value add. We look at an asset and we try to figure out how can we unlock value that everyone else don't see, right? And this hotel basically had beautiful panoramic views. The rooftop had beautiful panoramic views of the entire city. And it was a closed swimming pool, and it was a fitness room, right? And I like certain type of hotels that I stay at. And to be honest with you, I like hotels with vibes, with energy. And you know, if a hotel has a cool rooftop, I'm typically drawn to it, right? But at the same time, I'm a select service extended stay brand. They're not known for having sexy rooftops, right? The sexy rooftops are with your 4-star lifestyle or luxury hotels. So I noticed that it had an entrance directly from the street that you can get to an elevator that can take you right up. So then my mind went to, I'm going to completely brand this differently. And so it has no association with the hotel, because I'm making this rooftop more 4 or 5 star while my hotel is where it is as a premium extended stay. And I basically had a vision for all of the rooftops and the F&B, experiences that I've had all over the world. I just wanted to do something different. And I really got engaged with my designers, and we created something, and it's exceeding our expectations. And I didn't even have my hotel operator operate it. So to me, I've seen a lot of hotel P&Ls, and I've never been impressed with the F&B line item when I see them. So I'm like, I'd rather have someone that super knows F&B to operate it. So I separated that out of my contract with my hotel operator. I said, I want this carved out. And then I got with an F&B operator, and literally the F&B operator is doing $2 million plus more than what the hotel operator thought that they can do, right? And we're exceeding those numbers right now. So it's been a hit. It's a hot spot in DC. It's called Realm. So please come and check it out and have some drinks there. I see some people smiling. Maybe some people have been there already, right? So come check us out.
And by the way, shout out to Hyatt. It's a Hyatt product, and they've been really great in making that deal come true. And by the way, one of your investors who couldn't make it his mother passed away. His mother passed away from Detroit. Owned a bunch of Wendy's. I know that. You met him here at the summit. Mm-hmm. And he called me up last week, and he said, I can't make it. I missed it. And but Evans, when you talk about life, I see you have a little bit of gray hair.
Yeah.
Keep this up. You'll have no hair. But these success stories have given you a view to think of, and I can think of this little baby girl. And I once told a friend, when we go to DC, we can call Evans at any time. Or one time I showed up at his house about 10 o'clock after, I think we were someplace. And I said, let's go to Evans' house, 10 o'clock. Well, we can't do that anymore because he has a little baby girl that he is nurturing as an entrepreneur. Why do you take her to work with you? I mean, are you paying her? There should be some union rules against that. And she's now asking you questions about work. Talk a little bit about how that has changed your life.
So new to fatherhood, but it's the most important job of my entire life. I'm so excited, and having a girl is even something. I secretly wanted a little girl, so she's bringing something out of me I didn't even know existed in me, as far as this some cream puffiness, some affection. It's really cool, right? So I am a almost 100% single dad, right? With my daughter most of the time, right? And I had to figure it out. How am I going to do all this as when she was really young? So I found me a phenomenal Jamaican nanny who is a former 30-year childhood educator. And I set up this nursery in my office. And the nanny lived like 10 blocks away. So she would come to my office. My daughter would come to my office, and they had their own bathroom, their own setup and everything else. And I mean, she's now in preschool. So she's grown up in her 4 years, coming to the office with me, hearing me on calls, coming in the conference room, seeing me at meetings or so. And don't get me wrong, I can get heated on some of these calls, but I'm cognizant when she's around me because I know she's a sponge, and I'm just cognizant. I know she's just going to absorb everything. So I'm just hopeful that just seeing the example of her dad, and I don't know what she's going to want to do in her life or so. I hope that just makes a difference in just her growth, right? But I tell you one thing, one thing that I just don't see happen a lot in our community is, I've seen people successful die and then didn't set up their estate properly, and it ends with that generation. So I've been extremely motivated from an estate planning perspective, hiring the best estate attorneys, setting myself up with the proper trust and how to handle everything. You're having a child in your 40s or so, I'm not in my 20s, So that's been fulfilling, and that's exciting. And so I'm constantly just trying to put things in place for her to hopefully take it to another level. And you know what? The way I have it set up, if it's not her, then it's her kids. That's a different story.
Yeah, you're right. And that's what we talk about. How do we keep generational wealth going? And I know when I did all my trust stuff, and I have kids and I have grandkids, I had to be very cognizant and very deliberate with my lawyers about what I wanted to happen. And what I do want to happen is for them to start at a very different level than I did. I want them to have an opportunity to have a great education. My granddaughter goes to Pratt Institute. She's not studying hospitality, which sometimes pains me, but my wife said I got to get over it. But at the end of the day, and Kevin talked about this about his two sons, and I need to do another shout out to Neil. I introduced Kevin to Neil. Neil and I went to Kitchen and Cocktails one night, and Kevin was there, and we sat and ate chicken. And Neil is from Chicago, and as Kevin said, he killed the chicken, and the chicken was dead before Neil got it. But it's such a great thing, and they met each other. A couple of weeks ago, Neil took Kevin's sons to lunch in Chicago when they're there, got them tickets to the ball game. That is what I call the extended family.
100%.
And so building generational wealth is going to ensure that a lot of these assets, whether they're mixed family or residential, we're going to continue to own, and our kids and our grandkids will be in a much better position than we are today. I mean, think about it. Earlier today, you saw an African-American woman as president of a brand. Stephanie, phenomenal. There's only one woman in America, white or black, that runs a real estate trust. It's Leslie Hale, RLJ. And so we've got to change that. Evans, what's next?
Well, right now, I mean, I'm doing two what I would consider to be generation-changing deals or so. So we were fortunate to be awarded a 7-acre site in DC, and right across from where the Commanders are going to be playing, and it's a waterfront site. If anybody knows DC, our wharf was all built out, our southeast waterfront where the Nat Stadium is. So now you keep going along the Anacostia River, the next horizon is just going to be Hill East. And Josh Harris, the owner of the Commanders and the Sixers, they're putting about $3.6 billion directly across the street from where we're building a hotel, retail, residential, for-sale condos, a community park. So super excited about that deal. We have an adaptive reuse, 250,000 square foot building in Philadelphia, right on Ben Franklin Parkway on Museum Row. We're building the new African American Arts Museum. That was a part of an RFP that we won. And that's going to be a super cool lifestyle hotel with, and I'm excited about what we're going to do there from a rooftop perspective. So that's my thing now, right?
Rooftop.
And yeah. And then you know what's next is really being a dad, man. And how can I continue to just be the best example for this little girl and raise her to be just a great human being?
Good. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think you've heard a perspective that we think and hope that it would inspire you to go on to do big and better things as Evans did, from humble beginnings to where he is. He's now at the rooftop. We didn't want to be in the hotel business because we were relegated to being in the basement, cleaning rooms and dormant. And so our mission at NABHOOD is very simple. We want to own, we want to operate, and as he did with his operators in bringing a black GM and a black management company, we also want to be that change agent that gives other companies and opportunities to participate in an industry that was typically off-limited. So please, again, I hope this was inspiring. I hope you got to know Evans a little bit more. When we thought about this session, we thought about, let's have a discussion. There's no questions. And I told Evans this years ago, he's a natural. Talk about your journey. And his journey is impressive. So please join me in thanking Mr. Evans Charles.
Thank you.
Thank you, my friend. Good job.
My pleasure.
The next session is coming up. I'm sure they'll tell you where you're going. Thank you again.